Hello, welcome to our Coral Eclipse preview, coming from Sandown on Saturday at 15:35. An absolutely fascinating renewal of the race. It must be one of the most difficult races we've previewed to actually price. I can understand people with either very strong opinions in here or quite meek approach at this stage. You've also got the clash of the generations. You've got four-year-old French form on new ground. You've got upside outlying performances from Ombudsman. Do you give forgiveness to Delacroix? Do you give forgiveness to Ruling Court? There's also the French three-year-old form coming in from Camille Pissarro, and then you have the Irish three-year-old form from Hotazhell, who's only run once. Was he unexposed? There's some more upside. So yeah, lots of generations, lots of different European form. Where do you think lies the strongest?
Well, yeah, the first thing I'd say, coming back on what you said earlier, that the closer I get to this race, the meeker my opinions get stronger. Looking at this race an hour or two ago, and now I could come up to a different opinion now. I'm finding this really confusing. Coming to that point, which leads us in, first clash of the male generations. Of course, we had the girls do it and the women do it last week in Ireland. Timeform have just produced a very interesting nugget of information that in the last 10 years, their top 10 3-year-old middle distance horses in training at this point of the year is the weakest this year, despite, a superstar miler, but that doesn't count for this. The top 10 middle distance horses in training are the lowest rated for the last decade, other than the COVID year where things like the Derby didn't happen until. So that's food for thought, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the fact that we have such a superstar miler might play into lower ratings from his closest rivals, where Ruling Court was immediately upped in distance to the Derby. Obviously, eventually didn't run, so was getting trained for a different race than the one he went to. So he didn't necessarily run up to form in the St. James's Palace. That shuffled Shadow of Light down 2 furlongs to the Commonwealth Cup. Field of Gold's existence also shuffled Jonquil down 2 furlongs to the Commonwealth Cup. So horses that showed top class form at the beginning of the season have had their careers deviated in ways that you probably wouldn't have expected without a superstar. So I do wonder if that's played into the highest time form ratings that they've been able to achieve. And maybe the 3-year-olds are stronger than time form are suggesting. But I mean, that's the beauty of a race like this, isn't it? We get answers to those questions.
Yeah, but certainly, it's definitely food for thought that 3-year-olds seem to have a bit to prove. Of course, they've always got to prove just on the eve of this race. But then counter to that, in my mind, is the pace angle to this race, which really worries me because I don't see where the pace is coming from. Unlike the Prince of Wales, which we knew in advance was going to be a strong pace and turned, a suicidally strong pace. Asking about it on our website. This is well murky, and the older horses, and you've got 2 really good older horses, are proper 10 furlongs. In Sosie's case, 10 furlongs plus horse, probably better at 12. And if this turns into falsely run, sprint for the line, turn a foot, I don't fancy either of them. Now maybe it won't turn out like that, but it's just something at the back of my mind.
Yeah, very difficult. As I mentioned, it's another large question mark and a whole field of different question marks for this race. But a horse at the beginning of the market, Ombudsman, he's 11 to 10. There are obviously a lot of question marks about him, and a lot of those come from the fact that he has had one upside outlying performance where he suddenly ran to 128. And do you have any complaints about that rating for Ombudsman?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't have a complaint with the fact that that's his single biggest figure, because he's been brought along very gently and slowly, hasn't it? And he's last year, they're running him in sort of French Group 3s and Group 2s, small fields. They didn't want to overface this field, and Gosden Senior was on the record as saying that it's grateful to the owner, obviously, Sheikh M, for allowing him to do what he wants with the horse, which is go slow. So that's excusable. What I do have a problem with, as you know, is this monster figure for the Prince of Wales, which suddenly makes him, according to some rating scales, the best horse in the world. In fact, on any major official rating scale, he's either the best horse in the world or only a pound or two away from it. And all that is based on that Prince of Wales run. And I think that's suspect. Not that he didn't run a brilliant race, he did. But the way that race was run was perfect to make him look good. And people won't believe it unless they've got the data in front of them. But it is a fact that if you take the fastest furlong run by any horse in the Prince of Wales, Ombudsman was the slowest horse in the race. If you look at the top speed notched up by any horse in the race, you know, with the likes of Los Angeles and whatever going over 42 miles an hour, Ombudsman is the second slowest horse in the race. So he did not win that race, even though visually it looks like it, with a killer turn of foot and speed that other horses can't do. He won that race because he had the most efficient division of speed between the furlongs. And by the time the final furlong came, perhaps because he had nowhere to go before he gave that final burst, he had a final decent injection of pace, nothing exceptional, but everything else was falling in a hole. And that is my basically intro into saying I want no part of this horse at this price at all, even though he's a very exciting horse, could win this race, could be the next middle distance superstar, but I'm out at even money, completely out.
Okay, we will move on from Ombudsman in that case, and then we'll head over the channel to France, to Sosie. So, yeah, Arc favourite last year, ended up finishing fourth. So soft ground, 12 furlongs favourite, a fast ground, 10 furlongs, out of a German mare. Are there concerns about the ground for this horse?
Not for me, no. But you touched on the thing there. It's the 12 furlong, 10 furlongs thing. 12 furlongs soft ground, 10 furlongs fast ground. Of course, these are very different beasts. I'm pretty convinced, when Fabre has always said, that this horse is just fine on fast ground. His last two races say they're good to soft. I've heard other very respected people on podcasts in the last 2 days say that this horse prefers soft ground. There's nothing soft about the ground Sosie ran, the Gannet and the Ispahan, both Group 1s on it. It says GS. Good to firm in places, possibly even faster moving my take, certainly for the Ispahan, but probably for the Gannet as well. And Fabre was on record as saying the Arc was too soft for him last year. I was there, it really did. The rain cut an hour and a half before the race, it just kept going. It was a real bog. No problem with ground, but he's not really, in my view, at his best over 10 furlongs. Yes, he's bagged those two Group 1s. In both cases, visually, it was absolutely clear he was struggling to get on top of the horse in front. Only did so kind of as the line closed. Now, the Ispahan was only 1 mile, 1 furlong and a quarter of a furlong. So, you know, a fair 3/4 of a furlong shorter than this race. So this should be okay. But the combination of fast ground, 10 furlongs, and a potentially slow pace, big concern.
Yeah. On his side, you'll have the Sandown Hill. It's not normally a track that's easy to make all on, and closers can do well. But yeah, it'll be different kettle of fish, this for Sosie. Next in the betting at 5-1, we have, 11-2 even best price. We've got the pick of Ryan Moore of the two Coolmores, which came as a mild surprise to one of us and a shock to the other. We've got Delacroix. So son of Tepin will love the fast grounds. The form of his Derby trials has worked out very well. A certain Lambourne in behind, and also a certain Tennessee stud. He was knocked about a bit in the Derby and he was shuffled back. Ryan Moore therefore went a bit gently on him. As I say, it's a choice of Ryan Moore. Does 11-2 appeal?
Not in the slightest. I'm lost on this horse. I have absolutely no idea why Ryan Moore's picked this horse over the French Derby winner. Absolutely no idea at all. They really must believe him. Or do they just look back at the form and think, oh, well, he beat Lambourne and, you know, he beat Tennessee Stud. Were those horses their best? I mean, Lambourne, that was his first start of the season. And then it was 10 furlongs. Lambourne was never going to be, you know, neither of those things would have worked in his favour. His top time form rated performance by a long way is soft ground last year. Rattling fast at Sundown with the Dubawi sire. I can't have it. I mean, I must be wrong. I assume I must be wrong because it's O'Brien and it's Ryan. It's Ryan Moore's choice of the O'Brien pair when they've got a French Derby winner in there. What's going on? You know, obviously my conspiracy theory, and you banned me from on this. Anyway, Camille is the number one, and Soumillon Moore are going to share the purse, and it's just to deceive the world that Moore is on Delacroix. Camille is the number one, and Delacroix is going to set up for him. There you go. That's my absolute match after the Open. You can't stop it now unless you edit it out later.
I just question the historical foundations for a conspiracy theory like that. I'm not sure it's anything I've known Coral Moore do, and it's not really something I think that the financial incentive and breeding incentive is there for between Camille Pizarro and Delacroix. If Delacroix turns out to be a crack 10 furlong horse, then I wouldn't be surprised if his stud value was greater than Camille Pizarro's, having shown he's a determined and talented horse, but probably more so the former. Whereas,
how determined was he in Epsom when he threw in the towel?
So I think Camille's a determined horse.
He's beaten 17 lengths.
Yeah, I think Ryan threw in the towel in that race. The horse didn't necessarily like the track and bigger things ahead. So, yeah, I think there's more upside with Delacroix, and I can understand that decision.
Quick question for you: what do you think the tactics will be? Well, what do you think Moore's strategy is in this race?
I think it'll be to do a repeat of how he won his 2 Derby trials, where he gets an easy lead off a soft pace and then will just kick clear.
Yeah, if he gets an easy lead, he's not setting too hard fractions. Yeah, on fast ground, I can't see him not being picked up. But anyway, fascinating. Yeah, I'm clearly going to be. I'm gearing myself up to be very stupid about this. I've no idea why Moore is on Delacroix, and I cannot have him at all at that price.
He went off about 2-1 favourite for the Derby, and you can just put a line through that race.
Move on.
Okay. Next in the betting is Camille Pizarro, and I think you've painted a picture of a conspiracy here, and I'm not sure it's necessarily true. But any more arguments in his favour? Kumel coming here with the French Derby winner. They've done this before, and he's got. If this does turn into a race with not much pace. I mean, he was third in the French Guineas over a mile, but he had an absolute coffin slot of a draw and reversed those positions with Henry Matisse, and that result gets reversed in my view. He's got plenty of toe. This horse needs to sit behind. I don't think he does much, if anything, when he gets to the front. I think I've heard or read someone say something about he was all out at the end of the French Derby. He wasn't all out at all. He got to the front very easily when he got the gap and then did nothing in front. That's Camille Pizarro all over. So he'll be played late, and if they go slow, he's got the turn of foot to get there. I still think he's a threat. We put up an article putting him up and suspecting this race was going to cut up, saying, look, 3 places, you've got to go for this. And I still think, I think that was a great angle. Now there are, this is not an each way bet when you've got 2 places in a 6-horse field. So now, is it a win bet? Is it not? I'm a bit neutral. I like the each way angle for the 3 places, but I think he's very dangerous, and I think he's the most likely winner of the Coolmore 2. Okay. Well, maybe we could have a match bet on the 2 if you give me evens about Delacroix.
Taken. Done.
Okay. Right, perfect. I've got expensive taste spinning around the way. Big sushi man. Ruling Court is next in the betting. 9-1 Guineas winner. Stylish Guineas winner at that too. Obviously, looked pretty horrendously outpaced in the St. James's Palace. They went fast in that race, to be fair. He got quite a poor passage, was bumped around a bit. So I don't think the run is necessarily as bad as it first appears. Appleby's horses are running all right since Ascot, but he is a difficult horse to price, as the training and clearly has been pretty odd for Ruling Court. However, he is the highest rated 3-year-old in this race and is 9-1 there for a bit too big.
When they first priced him up yesterday at 40 declaration stage, you could get 14s. Yeah. which I knew. I was very surprised. I always assumed that he was a really long price because people thought he wouldn't run because often they've got horses for this anyway. But he is in this, so that's come right down to 9-1. I think I'd agree with you. I think that's probably still too long. Again, given this is not going to be a furious Prince of Wales end-to-end gallop. We know this boy has a lot of toe. This is the guy who made Field of Gold look like he didn't have enough, spur of the moment acceleration. Really, really dangerous. 9-1 too big.
Okay. Yeah. In agreement. 9-1 too big. Obviously we don't have two places, but he would probably be a win-only bet given the underperformance last time out.
I think we could also say that it's reasonable to be forgiving about his St James Palace's run because he was trained to run a derby, and I racehorse trainer. I don't know quite what went into it, but I cannot believe that is the ideal preparation for taking on St James a Field of Gold for a mile.
It felt a little greedy from Appleby. I don't know, but okay.
Furlongs, which is like the sort of hybrid, between the two, 10, halfway point between a mile and 12 furlongs. And he should have his head in the right, whether they go fast or slow. I think, and don't forget, he's on breeding. Justify. He's out of a high chaparral mare, isn't he? 10 furlongs should be no problem at all.
Yeah, you report optimal. Cool. The last horse in the betting, the rag of the field, is Hotazhell. So he's about 28-1 at the minute. Made a decent third in his comeback in the Irish Guineas. Actually running Cosmic Year fairly close for seconds. He does make quite an interesting outsider, but with only two places, the each way bet doesn't offer sufficient financial rewards, really.
I would agree completely. So I'm just re-looking up Hotazhell's form. I had a list, and I think put out as much. It was either in the Camille Pizarro article or just on Twitter. There were that's right. It was on Twitter, on X. That I expected the softies to come out of this race. One of them, I'm backing Camille Pissarro. I thought, the A's, Almaquam and Matt. There's another one whose name is White. He was a W. But those three were likely to come out and did. This is the other one I thought might come out as well. They have talked about a preference for, not firm in the going description. So whether it's ideal for him, I don't know. The only thing you'd say is his 2-year-old form looks good. If you like Deloqua, why not like the horse who beat Deloqua on his final start of last season? You're getting 28-1. Performance, his only sighting this season was in the Irish Guineas, where he was beaten 4 lengths by Field of Gold. To be beaten by 4 lengths by Field of Gold is almost like a badge of honour now. It looks like Henri Matisse was beaten more than 3 lengths by him at Ascot, wasn't he? So that was Hotazhell's first run of the season. I don't like the fast ground, but if that's a red herring or overdone, and actually he's going to be fine on it. Dangerous 28. I imagine you're going to get 30 something on Betfair. I'll chuck 2 or 3 quid on that to cover my positions. Why not? Who knows? Who knows how good Hotazhell is? He's too big as
well. Yeah, agreed. Okay, so to summarise, Hotazhell, medium warm on, Ruling Court, warm on, Camille Pizarro, neutral and negative between the two of us, Delacroix, negative and neutral. Sosie, I think the more we talked about him, the more interested I was. I think beating Sardinian Warrior, whose form with Docklands has worked out really well, over 9.25 furlongs on what you say is good ground, is very good form. I think Sardinian Warrior turning up here would probably be a similar price, and with having beaten him by a length or so, it's quite an encouraging argument. And then Ombudsman, both of us slightly against 11-10.
Slightly?
Okay.
Sorry, extremely in my case, please.
Okay, yeah. Seriously against.
I've just come back just one thing on Sosie, and this is the horse I'm most schizophrenic on. Ombudsman, I know where I sit. I'll let him win. I appreciate the horse. But 17-day turnaround, the way that race is run, I would never, ever bet. If you look at this race 100 times with what I know. 100 times I would say I'm not backing Ombudsman. Sosie, I'm just completely schizophrenic. Sometimes I go back to this race and I think, I can't believe it. This horse is almost 5-1. It's completely underestimated. Just won 2 runs over this distance. He's the best the French have got for this, and he's going to run really well. He'll probably win. And then he thinks, he's a 12 furlong horse, and the pace, I'm not sure. I'm split. I'm totally torn.
Yeah, okay. Encouraging that your hallucinations are filled with French middle distance horses. If you were to be sectioned, I think you'd be quite safe to spend time with. But yeah, that wraps up the Coral Eclipse. Yeah, not significant standout selections. If you are a layer, then maybe Ombudsman would be the strongest selection. And we are very keen to hear your comments. It's, as mentioned, it's a really intriguing race where strong opinions are probably encouraged. And give us a like, follow us on Twitter, follow us on X, and we will see you in the next one. We'll be doing a Prix de Jean Plat preview where we look at some of the pretty exciting 3-year-olds sprint/milers.
It's a good race this year. For years and years, the Jean Prat had this sort of absolutely unparalleled reputation as the weakest Group 1 in France, Britain or Ireland. But the last couple of years, they've turned things around, and it's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, we'll see you all then, and thanks again for watching. Goodbye.